Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of 6 for 6. I'm your host, Trevor Williams, and we're bringing you the 6 best games to talk about this week. We are on Season 5, Episode 10, looking relatively great going into it. We're looking a lot about the NBA playoffs right now. First round playoffs on top of that, ladies and gentlemen. So we're looking at Game 3 for today and on Friday. So a lot of good 6 games that we got. 3 for today and 3 for Friday. A lot of good stuff. But look, without further ado, let's dive into our records for last time. I revealed one of the games slightly early, but you can wait until we get back into that. Last episode, we went 4-1. Very solid performance on our picks, looking pretty relatively strong into Season 5. I like the results that we're seeing thus far, and that's putting us at 30-21. That's 9 games up for correct picks compare our incorrect picks. So hopefully we can keep the positive side and keep getting the nice wins in the win column when it matters the most, and to keep us in the win column and keep us above 500 because we like having these good overall winning percentage records. But to give you a context of where 6 for 6 is going to go for the remainder part of the year going into college football season in the NFL. So for right now, we're going to look at a lot of the NBA and then probably sprinkle some NHL games in there. And then in the summer, once we hit June, we're going to get the World Cup. So we're going to have like games relatively consistent and always kind of be on a cadence where we're going to try to record on Tuesday or Wednesday, get it up, and then just keep going with the flow and as best we can for all of our games and picks that we have. So we've got to be on our toes of creating that content for the World Cup. And then after that, July will be a little bit slow, but we still got WNBA action in there. And then we transition to college football. So, like, overall, we got a lot of good stuff going up into bowl season and then eventually closing out the year maybe 2 weeks before, like New Year's and rounding that out. Normally, we kind of stop our season after the conference championship games and then maybe sprinkle in every other week and the rest of December until we get to the playoffs. And then eventually, after national championship, we start a little bit slow again, but then we're right back in our same cycle. Keeping content going and finding our best way to keep things moving. But without further ado, let's dive into this week's picks. In the 6th slot, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Spurs and Trailblazers Game 3 today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, where you can watch it. Obviously, you can see it on other television platforms as well if it's on your local TV or NBA Pass or whatever you got to watch your NBA games. But right now, the series is 1-1 in this series in Game 3, so they go to Portland in this scenario. But Victor goes down with a concussion, so that's a game-time decision. We'll see how he feels going up to that point. Since the game is so late, they got enough time to recuperate. Hopefully, they get him back out there, but you don't want to rush something like that. Right now, the Spurs are, I would say, have a 67% chance to win compared to the Portland Trailblazers, almost 33% chance to win this game. If we're looking at the last 2 games, San Antonio won 111-98, and they lost in Game 2, 106-103. So overall, I would say good performance. But the reason why they lost is because they lost Victor, because he got a concussion, or his injury impacted him in that scenario. But I think he'll be back. He'll be ready to go going into Game 3. A very pivotal one when you have a 1-1 series. And this is like a swing momentum when you can go up 2-1, and then you have a interesting Game 5 in your hands if you can pull it as a 3-1 scenario going into Game 5. So that's what the Spurs are trying to do in this one. I like them in this matchup. So give me the Spurs over the Trailblazers in Game 3 today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, in the 5th slot, we got Lakers, Rockets in this scenario. The Rockets are down in the series, 2-0 in the series. Lakers looking great, but Luka being out until until May. And is that enough time for the Lakers to survive the first round? Probably. They're looking relatively good. If you look at the last 2 games, they're beating the Rockets relatively convincingly with 107-98 and winning in game 2 101-94, looking relatively good for the Lakers in this scenario. I mean, we'll see if they can keep that momentum going relatively strong. Game you can catch it at is 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time on Prime Video. And I think the Lakers are going to go 3-0 in the series and win game 3 100%. Now we're going to take a quick look at game 4, ladies and gentlemen. Celtics and 76ers, a great matchup. Has been a classic for, a little bit of the decade, early part of this decade now as we get to start towards the later part of this decade now. Celtics are looking to revenge losing in game 2 in this scenario. But from what we're seeing, the Celtics dominate game 1, 123-102-91, and then they end up losing in game 2, 111-97. So that's where they're at right now, going to Philadelphia. Team is not really that strong with Joel Embiid out with a game time decision. So we'll see if that kind of holds true or not. Looks like abdominal, I want to say, but don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll see what happens on how the Celtics take out. I think the Celtics are going to pull this one out. It's going to be 2-1 in the series. I don't think the Celtics are going to trail whatsoever in the series whatsoever. So give the Celtics game 3 at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time on Prime Video. Next up in the game 3 slot, ladies and gentlemen, we got Nuggets and Timberwolves in this matchup. I like this one. This is a fierce, scrappy matchup. And series is tied 1-1 on top of that. And we're going back to Minnesota. And so Minnesota is riding off the high of stealing that game 2, which is going to be pivotal going into this game 3 momentum swing. Because if you look at it, game 1, the Nuggets won 116-105, but they ended up losing to the Timberwolves 119-114. So that's relatively close to losing by 5. I think the Nuggets are going to be very fierce in game 3, but I think it's going to be another close one where the Timberwolves pull it out. And even like the margin is showing how close it is. Like the Denver Nuggets are at a 52% chance to win compared to the Timberwolves have a almost 48% chance to win that game. So that's how intense this matchup is. And I like how good this series is going to be. So this is probably a game 6, if not a game 7, but we'll see how this kind of rides itself out. Next up in the 2 slot, ladies and gentlemen, we got Cavaliers and Raptors in this scenario. Looking relatively great, if you ask me, in this matchup. Raptors down in the series 0-2. But they're trying to swing it back with the chance of victory, with the Cavaliers almost having a 46% chance to win compared to the Raptors' 54% chance to win. Definitely one of those matchups where you have to keep a close eye, but the Raptors have 3 people into a game time decision, but one's out for the season. So 2 for game time decision, 1 with illness and the other with hamstring. So they should be ready to go to most likely tomorrow. And then Thomas Bryant for the Cavaliers has a calf, which is a game time decision, but he's probably going to have limited minutes if they decide to activate him in this game 3 scenario. But if you look at the last 2 games, the Cavaliers have been pretty much dominating for the most part with 116-113 and no, I should say 126-113, and then winning game 2, 115-105. Definitely interesting across the board, and I will have the Cavaliers winning this matchup in game 3. You can catch that game today at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time on Prime Video. And now let's talk about the game of the week. The New York Knicks against the Hawks. The Knicks gave up 1 in Madison Square Garden. How could you give up in the Garden when you had such a great campaign last year and now you're toying with the Hawks? You need to put the Hawks away, take game 3, and call it a day. The Knicks in this scenario have a 55% chance to win compared to the Hawks, about 45% chance to win this game. Right now, if you look at the last two games, the Knicks won 113 and 102 and then lost by 107 and 106. And the Hawks had to steal that one to Madison Square Garden to give them a fighting chance. But it's going to be tough for the Hawks to survive at home because I know the Knicks will definitely steal game 3 in this scenario. And you can catch that today at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video. Let's get a quick recap and we'll get you on out of here so you can enjoy today's games and Friday's games. Without further ado, let's get the recap underway. And the sixth slot, ladies and gentlemen, we got Spurs Trailblazers game 3 today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, and I have the Spurs winning it. And the fifth slot, we got Lakers Rockets game 3. No, I should say not today. Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, and I have the Lakers winning it. Also, the Spurs and Trailblazers game, that is on Friday as well, ladies and gentlemen. So keep that in mind when you watch. Celtics 76ers game 3 Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, and I have the Celtics winning this matchup in game 3. Next up today, you have Nuggets Timberwolves at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, and I have the Timberwolves winning this matchup. And the second slot, we got Cavaliers and Raptors game 3 today, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, and I have the Cavaliers winning it. And then the game of the week, the New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks, game 3 today, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time on Prime Video, ladies and gentlemen. And before I say my winner is the Knicks, I want to make sure I am saying that the Nuggets and Timberwolves game is at the correct time that it's on. It is at 9:30, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make that clear. That is a 9:30 tip-off for that game. So, without further ado, like I said last time, we went 4-1. Hopefully, that momentum stays with us. And then our record for Season 5 thus far is 30-21, ladies and gentlemen. Looking relatively good if you ask me. But thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of 6 for 6. Hopefully, we give you some great predictions to help you out to decide what you're trying to do with your picks for your own Pick'ems League. And we'll catch you all next time here on 6 for 6. So long for now. Bye-bye.